Now let's change gears and role play that for some reason you have a requirement to not use a VRS, but to use a single base. So, and one more thing about that VRS connection that I didn't cover that I need to, and I apologize. So what I'm going to do here real fast is go to measure and end my survey. And I'm going to go back to my survey style. And I failed to mention an important part here that I need to cover down on the rover options. So in a VRS scenario, some people say, hey, when I was using that VRS, I don't get the traditional vectors that I get from RTK, UHF, or from other types of networks. Just remember in the survey style, you have a decision to make. Do I want to store the position as positions, or do I want vectors? And we would encourage you to change that to vectors. And that was an oversight on my part just a minute ago. So I want to make sure that you realize that's all controlled under the rover options, okay? And then I would hit accept and then store. Now, what we're going to do is change gears and simulate, and I'm going to show you on a map here, that in a VRS, or why I would use VRS, if I was operating, let's just say somewhere up in this area here, okay? I know that I'm not close enough to a single base, but I am within the network and I have cellular, let's just say. But remember, we have a station right in Bozeman. And for some reason, one of your questions on the pre-survey was, I'm not seeing that repeatability. We would tell you, or we would say to you, first, always try to use the VRS. But then if you said, I'm not happy with those results, and I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get repeatability, we would ask you to maybe try to use a single base operation, or maybe that's your requirement by your survey manager. So that is what we're going to change gears to now. So by looking at this map, I do know that I'm operating in Bozeman, and I do know that MTSU is that single base. So now I'm going to minimize this and go back to my emulator. And since I built that survey style, I might as well copy that, because then I only have to make a couple tweaks. So I'm going to copy that survey style by highlighting it and hitting copy. And now we're going to call this MTSRN and then underscore SB for single base. And that's been put into the FAQs, by the way. So I encourage you to read through that awesome document that was put together by the Montana State Library and taken from advice from other great network operators. And it has some great information in that FAQ. But this name does matter, keeps it simple. And now by looking at it, I know it's for the Montana State Network and using single base. Now, what I'm going to do is take that and hit edit on that survey style. And remember, under rover options, the broadcast format dictates what you're going to see for mounts. So I'm going to roll down and to use a multi-station to get my single base. You could also see single bases by using these survey styles up here, whether it's an RTCM for an RTK operator using a non-Trimble manufacturer, and some other manufacturer other than Trimble, like a Topcon, et cetera. You could be using legacy Trimble gear, maybe CMR Plus, et cetera, or CMRX. but I'm just trying to show you a simpler way here by choosing multi-station CMR or RTCM. So I'm going to choose multi-station RTCM just so you see it can it can work either way. And then hit accept. And then under my rover data link, my correction source is still the same one. So there's no reason to change that, because remember, we're not mounting directly yet. So I haven't even, there's no need to change anything. So I might as well just use the same one I've created. I'm going to store that now. So now when I hit measure and choose the SB mount, you're going to see RTCM flavors come up here, because I told it to look for single base RTCM. See? Now, you can sort up here by mount points. And so we know that we're clear down here at MTSU. And you can see that under MTSU, I have RTCM 3.1 and an MSM, which is RTCM 3.2. And I could choose that. And then I can hit accept. And sure enough, because I'm within the proximity, you know, sub 10 kilometers, nowadays with maybe some higher end receivers, you know, like Trimble R980s, R12Is, like a GS18s, you know, these higher end receivers, you might be able to push what is recommended in the FAQ, which is 10 kilometers out to maybe 20 kilometers max from a single base and still maintain good precisions. But just understand there is a PPM from all manufacturers, and I encourage you to look at the data sheet of the receiver that you own. And if you see this 1 ppm or 1.5 ppm horizontally and vertically, I'll just keep it simple. Think of it as 1 millimeter per kilometer. And so at 10 kilometers, that's a centimeter. And so the farther you move away from Bozeman, single base, you will start to see your precisions drop. And also space weather will play a heavy impact. And we're going to get into that in a minute here. But understand that I just went and connected to an RTCM connection by changing my survey style, and I'm now coming from a single base here. So if I was to measure 0.1000, whoops, here, and just call it a check shot, and measure.
Observation stored.
If I bail out of here and close this survey out, power down receiver, no, and come back in here into my survey style. And in that survey style, that's called single base, edit this to go multi-station CMR and hit accept. Now, if I go hot on that survey style, you'll see mount points that are built for CMR. Whether you're legacy receiver using CMR Plus, which is GPS and GLONASS only, or CMR-X, which is full constellation. So again, if I roll back down here to MTSU, I have MTSU CMR Plus, which is for legacy Trimble receivers, which is GPS and GLONASS only, and MTSU CMR-X, which is for full constellation modern day receivers and a better correction source. Now, I wanted to show you how to connect directly, remember, to a station based on name, because not all manufacturers have the auto pick ability. what I mean by that, some manufacturers, when you build that survey style, if the network provider has provided a mount that moves with your position as you move through the network, then you can choose that. And as you move, let's just say from Bozeman out to Four Corners, it would then switch to P048. Now, I showed you the I want to call it the old school or traditional way because it is a reliable and best way to know that I pick that name and I know I'm hitting MTSU. And but I also want to show now how you could use single base if you are using our software or Trimble's Access. And so I'm going to now show you that right here. There is a mount that's called MTSS. See? MTSS CMRX. And so I told you this was case sensitive. So MTSS underscore CMRX, all caps. And I even wrote that down so I will not make a mistake. Now, what I'm going to do is close this out and go back to my settings and go back to my connections. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that survey style, right? And I'm going to that connection style, and I'm going to hit copy. And I'm going to call this MTSRN MSS. So I know that that is a multi-station single point mount. And I'm going to mount directly to that mount name, which is, and that could be either for single base folks or in a VRS, but that way there is no picking and no typo, and you'll see here. So CMRX, and it is case sensitive, and hit enter and store. So the very final way I want to show you here is that you can modify your connection once you know the exact name. And so that way you can find your mounts, and then that way you don't have any human or operator error. So if I come over here to measure, and now I choose single base, right? Because I'm in single basing, but I am going to use this MTSS mount. It's going to prompt, right? Because I didn't change my survey style. So you'll have to change your survey style too. So understand two things need to be changed. If you want to mount directly, build it into your GNSS connection, and then also then build it in your survey style, which is right here under single base and under rover data link. Choose the right one here, which is now that one. Hit accept, and now store. And so now I've told that style to do single base, and I've also told that style to use the mount, which already picks the mount for me. So now if I come in here and measure and use single base, there'll be no prompt. It will hit the mount. It knows where I'm located at automatically. See? And everything's operating dynamically here. If I was to zoom out, and then Kyle and I have tested this. As you move through Montana with Trimble software, it will actually auto pick the closest station.